Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Mentor Me Monday. I am your host, Paul Turner, and today I want to teach you how not to destroy your mission trip this summer. And it all boils down to having the right kind of kids and people on your trip. The right kind of adults, the right kind of students that will make your mission trip work together very well so that you can accomplish what God has called you to accomplish. And so this is birthed out of a question that was offered to me by another youth worker and was asking me whether I had a process by which students were allowed to come on our trips. In her case, she had students, you had to attend so many weeks ahead of time before the mission trip. And if you attended so many weeks, you were allowed to go on the trip. And the discussion came up from a parent or somebody else that said, that rule should not apply, that if you should go on a missions trip, you should just be allowed to go on the missions trip no matter whether or not you have logged so many hours or time or days or weeks or whatever it is the standard is. And that was a bone of contention. And so I offered a few thoughts and advice on what I do, and I thought maybe I'd pass those on to you as well so that in the end, your mission team will be successful. So let's talk about the process that we have here. The first thing that's going to decide the team that you're going to bring on your mission field is where. Where are you taking your kids? For me, I'm taking my kids on two different trips. Last year, I took my kids to Alaska. And simply the price point kept some kids out of that we're not going to be able to go. So you had a certain group of kids that were going to be able to make this and raise the money and all that kind of stuff. But this year, we're taking two local trips, and we're going to go to Atlanta and to Mississippi. Both are local trips, but both are very different in regards to how they're going to be serving. Now, you may be going on a international trip, and when you go on an international trip, you definitely want to have the right kind of kids for that mission there. So decide whether or not your trip is local. Is it national? You're going to another state or another part of the country, or maybe you're going international. And the what there, the where you're going, will determine certain kinds of kids that will be able to handle certain kinds of trips. The second thing you want to look at is what will you be doing on the trip? Well, we're going to be doing evangelism. We're going to be going and doing street ministry. Or you may be saying, well, we're going to be doing a VBS somewhere. And those are different in this regard. In our Atlanta trip that we're going on, there's going to be a lot of hardcore outside urban environment where kids are going to go out and do some things in the streets there. Well, that's going to require a certain kind of maturity of kid. And our Mississippi trip that we're going to take this year, we're going to be running, help run a urban daycare, an urban day camp, excuse me. And in doing that, that's going to be another type of skill set. And so if you have kids on your team that don't know how to share the gospel or are not bold about their faith, for me, those kind of kids, I would not encourage them to go on the Atlanta trip because it's going to be a little bit more intense. So I'm really edging kids that are high school or college to go on that trip. But a middle schooler might be able to come depending on their skill set, depending on what God's already done in their heart and their maturity level. For the Mississippi trip, it may be where that's more open to kids because the intensity of the trip is not necessarily as focused and that you just basically need to be responsible in a lot of ways, not depending on some of your spiritual maturity and what you can do and what you can share, but some of that may be caught and taught on the trip itself that may be helpful to them. Now, the last part of this, you got your where, which will determine some kind of kids, and then you have what you'll be doing will determine that. But then there's the how process of the vetting actual process by which you determine which kids go on which trips. We have a process. We do a form, an application, so to speak, where kids will have to fill this out and maybe even attach a letter that says why. Why should I be allowed to go on this trip? And so you kind of feel, basically get a feel for the kids, where they're at on a maturity level. Will they be able to handle certain things on the trip? How well they get along with others? Or do they have a heart for that? Or they just want to go on a trip because they have nothing else to do this summer. They just want to go hang with their friends in another country and do something crazy like that. So for us, the vetting process looks a little different. I don't know what your vetting process is, but if you want to narrow the process down a little bit, do an application, do a letter that says, why do I want to go on this trip? and then speak with the parents and with those kids, and let your pastor be involved in that process that will help determine which kids go on which trips and why they should go on those trips. I'm a big fan of the Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, uttermost parts of the earth philosophy that says if a kid can serve locally 1 year or in the process of a year, then maybe they can serve and go a little bit further away and go a little bit further away and go a little bit further away to where they build 4 years or 5 years of trips, and they kind of start out small right here in Jerusalem, right in your own town, right in our own town, and determine from that process as they mature along, are they suited for certain kinds of trips. So anyway, that's my little process for how we deal with the process of missions, and how hopefully, if you follow this process, your mission trip will be successful. It will not implode because you'll have the right kind of team, the right kind of students, and the right kind of staff that'll go with you on these trips to help accomplish what God has called you to do. So if you have a process, if you have a way that you do your mission trips, I'd love to hear about it. So please leave me a comment down below. Do you have any restrictions? What is your vetting process for getting kids or adults on your trips? What do you use to do that? I'd love to hear it, and obviously it would benefit the people in this community. So please leave some comments down below. That will help a lot of people out there taking trips this summer. Anyway, if you are a regular viewer, thank you for joining me today. And if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, please go ahead and leave me a comment down below, and maybe I can do a video on your question. I would love to do that. And if you're brand spanking new, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button right here. That will get videos in your inbox. And whenever I make a video, it'll go right to your inbox, and you'll be a part of this community, which we would love you to be. So anyway, thanks for joining me today for Meant to Be Monday. I appreciate you guys. And I hope that whatever trip you're taking this summer, it will be super successful. You'll have all the right people in the right place at the right time to accomplish what God has called you to do. So anyway, have a great mission trip this summer, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the Tuesday Panic.